Yay Networks.
Welcome back to In the Cards and Stars. I'm your host, Britt Madrid Mogensen, and today we have a guest that I am so beyond excited about, Camila Regina Quintero, who is known as Spiritual Bossy on Instagram and TikTok. You guys, I cannot tell you how many hours I have spent going down the rabbit hole of her TikToks, her Instagrams, and I am just so excited that she gets to come here today to share all of her wisdom with us. Thank you, Camila.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Hello there. This is my very first podcast, by the way. So thank you
Amazing.
so much for having me. I love your stuff.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm honored that we get to be your first podcast. And just to tell everybody a little bit about you, if they haven't discovered you yet, you are a holistic licensed therapist, and you also deal with both Western and Vedic astrology. And on your
Mhm.
website, I love this quote from your website. You say that you're passionate about helping people find their truth, purpose, and identity through the use of ancient astrology practices and occult research. There's no one more dangerously unstoppable than a person who understands themselves. Love it.
Literally, yes.
Like literally. It's you and you at the end of the day. You got to hype yourself up,
Mhm.
be your cheerleader. So I love this and thank you for being here. This is
Oh
exciting.
my gosh, of course. This is so exciting to me. Like, I feel so called to get to know you and be here.
Oh my God. Well, we were talking a little bit off camera before we jumped on here, and we were actually talking about how like we connect also astrologically, which is pretty exciting. So before we talk about that, let's just get a little bit of like a ground floor about the differences in the different types of systems and how you integrate both. I would just love to hear your take on this since you're such an expert.
Oh my gosh, of course. So, like what everybody's used to, I'm sure, like when somebody asks you, "What's your sign?" That's what everybody's used to in the Western world, in the Western society, at least.
Yep.
And which would be what is your sun sign?
My sun sign in Western is Virgo, but in
Oh,
Vedic,
okay.
it's Leo.
Okay, got it.
Mhm,
So, when somebody asks you what's your sign, you usually say, "I'm a Virgo." So that's
mhm.
Western astrology. That's tropical, the tropical system. For me, would be Gemini in tropical Western astrology, what everybody's pretty much used to in this world. But then I discovered, well, I didn't discover, it's been there for ancient amount of times. Vedic astrology, which is the traditional form of astrology before it was quote colonized and turned into Western astrology. And then Vedic astrology goes by the Vedas, which is
Okay.
predominantly in India, and they still utilize astrology for everything in India. Like in the Western world, astrology is seen as a pseudoscience. This is
Mhm.
something that is not real. Blah blah blah. In India, like they don't do anything unless they consult an astrologer. Like they will not get
I feel
married. They will
so
not.
I feel so seen by the people of India. Like, we should be there,
Literally, it's so crazy. Like, why aren't we there? Literally,
right?
it's gotten a lot less over the years, but it's still
Okay.
very much traditional, especially for like the older Indian people who actually practice the Vedic, the Jyotish, that's what it's called. So then
Jyotish,
Vedic
okay.
astrology goes by the actual placements of where the planets are in the actual sky versus
Okay.
Western. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're just different in a lot of ways. So what Vedic astrology goes by the actual planets of where they are in the sky. It's the same calculation that NASA utilizes when they're looking at the sky. So if you were to get like one of those little apps that tells you like, the planets, like Skywalker or something like that, when you point at a planet in the sky, it's going to show you the Vedic sign, not the tropical sign. So when you
Oh,
were born, if you would have done one of those apps, it would have shown you that the sun was in Leo, not in Virgo. Um, so it goes by the
wow.
actual placements of the planets in the sky. That's the short version of it.
Okay.
Versus tropical goes by the seasons and how it revolves around the sun. It's still like somewhat accurate. There's some overlap to it, but the most accurate, I believe, is Vedic because, like, hello, you're going by where the planet is like what sign the planet is in. Why would we not do that? It doesn't make sense not to do that to me. But somewhere along the lines, that was changed and tropical astrology was created. But Vedic astrology also has a division which is called the nakshatras, and these are the lunar mansions where all the zodiac signs reside. And this is truly like the most beautiful thing about it. Like I want to do your chart reading one of these days because
I'd love it.
like you'll see how much more in depth it gets once you look at the nakshatras.
Wow. Okay. So, and okay, I'm like so excited. I'm like, I don't even know what to talk about first. Um, this is so fascinating. So, when you first started, getting into astrology, and your story and your trajectory as far as like your career is so interesting because going from like licensed therapist into,
Hmm.
astrology, and I think they probably go really hand in hand. I mean, that's
Yes.
amazing that you have both skills.
Yes.
Did you start with like Western and then get
Hmm.
into the Jyotish? Is that how you say it?
Yes, the
Yeah.
Vedic astrology, Jyotish is like the actual teachings
Okay.
within it, because Vedic is also very spiritual. It has a
Mm,
lot of spiritual components to it, and but yeah, it started just like that. I had just started my private practice, and I was seeing a lot of clients that were having like similar situations going on in their lives.
mm,
Similar with my own life, I had very specific situations happening that I wanted to learn more about.
yep.
So then I started getting into astrology. I've always loved things like that, but for funsies, like for the
Yeah.
heck of it. Never, after when you go to school, they're always telling you that's pseudoscience. Don't dabble in that. So I had
Oh
that
yeah.
ingrained in me, of
Hmm.
course. But then I'm like, whatever. It's COVID. Like, who cares? I've already planted a whole garden in my apartment. I need to move on to the next hobby now.
I need to move on. I love it. Like, what am I going to do
So
now?
yeah, so I'm like, might as well learn more. So I started with tropical, and then I realized like I wanted more. There has to be more out there.
Hmm.
So then I somehow stumbled upon Vedic, and then I started getting into it, and I started doing my own research, and I started learning about the nakshatras, and then I started seeing the patterns of my clients coming in, and I even started utilizing it as a tool to um, as a measuring tool for like as an intake almost, where I
Okay.
would know exactly what my clients were going to tell me before they even came in from looking at their
Wow.
charts, because I knew the issues that they were going through just by looking at the trances that they were experiencing. And then that just led me through a rabbit hole. And I'm a firm believer that when you're doing the things that make you happy, like you will just be so consumed by them that
Yes.
it will just turn into something bigger than you can ever imagine. And that's exactly what happened.
I think that makes so much sense. Like, it's just like your spirit just kind of takes you
Hmm.
away, and then things start to fall into place. You start to make decisions that move you forward in the right direction. I love that. So
Literally.
yeah. So how did your birth chart shift when you went
Hmm.
from Western to, the Vedic system?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much, because like my whole life I thought I was a Gemini. And whenever I would tell people I'm a Gemini, and the funny thing is that all my friends are Geminis or Sagittarius, the
Oh
two
my
sister
gosh.
signs.
Yeah.
So whenever I would tell people I'm a Gemini, but then when I saw my tropical chart for the first time, which was around this time also, um, I thought it was a lie. I'm like, there's no way this is a lie. Like, because when you look at my chart, it's like Sun in Gemini, Moon in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, Venus in Gemini. And I was like, there has to be something wrong
Wow.
with this. So then I started looking up my friends' charts, and I'm like, how come theirs looks different? Why do I have so
Wow.
much Gemini? This has to be wrong. But then I started learning about it. I'm like, okay, I guess there's a sun, moon, rising, and there's all of these things. And that's why I'm so much of a Gemini, but I still don't identify with it because, number one, yes, I love knowledge and I love to learn. But like, I'm not the life of the party. In fact, like, I don't open up easily. I love stability, and I'm not flaky, or, I'm actually very, what is the word for it? Very like committed and very dependable, and just everything that deals with Taurus. That's who I am. And all this Gemini stuff, like I would tell people you're a Gemini, you're two-faced. I'm like, no, ma'am, no, sir, I'm definitely not two-faced. Or you're a player because your Venus is in Gemini. That's the number one thing. I'm like, Like when I like one person, like I stay liking that one person for years.
So Taurus. Yeah,
Yeah,
so Taurus.
literally.
So you went
So that's
from feeling or and thinking of yourself, well, let me make sure I got it right, as more of like, Gemini when it was Western, and then when you saw your, trop or Vedic, I'm
Vedic,
getting them all confused,
sidereal Vedic, yes.
sidereal Vedic, you were like, "Oh, wait, this actually is more like my soul. Like, this is how I really feel on
Mhm.
the inside." Interesting.
Yeah, and how
It
I act too. Like
Mhm.
I was like, "What?" Yeah.
And you are such a wonderful communicator. So I could see, some Gemini stuff going on with you if we were looking
Mhm.
at your Western chart. Do you
Mhm.
feel like the two systems can go hand in hand? Like if it maybe could be based on like your consciousness level or like, I don't know, like one reads more of like a different part of you or like I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? I'm just kind of thinking it through like philosophically.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with it. If I were to look at it from like an outsider's perspective, once you get to know me, I am very talkative and I love to learn. Those are all, Gemini traits. So I do think that to some extent that there's an overlap, but a lot of it has to do more with the nakshatras, with the lunar mansions. And a
Okay.
lot of it has a lot more to do with like the house placements. Like if you have sun and moon and Mercury and Venus together, you're going to be great at communicating because you love to communicate and your ego is all about communication and your
Okay.
moon being your emotions, you want to express your emotions because they're all sitting together, in the same sign, wanting to like express itself very very well. And if it's in the 10th house like it is for me, I want to be known as somebody who is able to express themselves really well. So all of those traits can be perceived as a Gemini trait.
Hmm. And people can actually pull up their own, like, uh, Vedic
Vedic.
chart by going to your link tree,
Mhm.
which is what
Yes.
I did as well, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I actually could kinda see this." But it's like putting on a different set of glasses, like different lenses to
Mhm.
see yourself through, but it does resonate. Like, for me, I'm a Aquarius rising in Western, Aquarius rising, Virgo, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, which that feels like me as well. But then when I look at this, I'm like, this is almost like somebody who knows me really well. Um, like according to Vedic, it's Capricorn rising, Leo sun, Scorpio moon. I feel like that's more of like my
Mhm.
hidden self or something. But that's just like the way
Yeah.
I'm interpreting it.
Yeah,
So,
because your Scorpio moon remains Scorpio in both tropical and sidereal.
oh, interesting.
Does it? It does,
Yes,
right?
yes, it does.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because you're right at the end degrees of it. So
Okay.
there's some overlap. Like if you're at the end degrees of a sign in tropical, it's gonna remain the same sign in both charts. But when you first look at it, it's a little bit of a shocker. Like
Totally.
seeing how much it changes. It's like if you've identified your whole life with being a Virgo, oh
Mhm.
boy, it's gonna be a shocker to find out that you're actually not.
Maybe
Um,
I was a Virgo and now I'm a Leo. Maybe I've changed as I've gotten older. Who knows?
That could be, yeah.
Maybe it's the
I've
level of
heard that
consciousness.
theory. I've heard that theory before. But is your Leo also? It depends on like the degrees. Like, is your moon in Anuradha in the nakshatra of Anuradha or Jeshta? I mean, or
Anar
Vishaka.
Anuradha.
Anuradha, yes.
Okay.
So that's like the main component of your moon sign. So
Ooh.
I was telling you earlier that we usually express outwardly our opposite sign. So you being a Scorpio moon, you usually will show up more as somebody more grounded externally, or as somebody who's like has their life together, or like not show any emotion, be very controlled externally. But I mean, yeah, externally, that would be more of the traits of the opposite sign, which is Taurus. But internally, your moon is debilitated. So you went through some shit growing up. You went through some
Yes.
stuff. Yeah. And
Accurate.
it's almost like the lotus flower because it is in the placement of Anuradha, which is the star of success.
Oh.
Um, so it's almost as if you were kind of like the lotus flower who
Mm,
grew up in like swamps,
mhm.
toxic environments, and then but unlike any other flower, like for instance, any other flower would not survive in the toxic environments of a swamp. Versus you're like the lotus flower and you're able to still blossom and succeed even though you came from such toxic environments.
That is so true. Oh my
Hmm.
god, I
And
love
that it
it.
was based on the nakshatra. So you see how that
Mhm.
placement changes things.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. It's very deep. Like you said, there's a spiritual component.
Mhm.
I completely like what you just said, like, you just went to, like, the deepest part of, like, my spirit. Like, and you don't
Mhm.
even know me, you know, and you just knew, like,
Right.
this is what happened. You probably went through this, and you've blossomed despite that. I'm like, "Oh my god, you know me." Um, I love it. That is so cool. This is something that I am just very interested in. And I think it's really amazing that you're bringing this to light. You're bringing this to the mainstream. You're on TikTok sharing these ancient teachings, this ancient wisdom. So if people want to learn more or get a reading from you, I highly recommend it. I want a reading from you as well. They can go and
Yes.
follow you, check you out, go to Spiritual Bossy, click the link tree. But I would love to get your opinions on some different things going on right now. Let's switch
Mhm.
gears and talk about some current events. This is eclipse season,
Oh
and
my
you've been
gosh,
posting about
yes.
manifesting during eclipse season, which is highly controversial. And I'm with you. I like what you have to say. So, will you share with everybody what your beliefs are on manifesting during this particular eclipse season and like what's going on, what you're seeing, what you're sensing?
Yeah, oh my gosh, like nothing breaks my heart more than scrolling through my page and seeing people saying things like, "Oh my goodness, this is a terrible time for you to manifest," or, "You're going to go through terrible situations because it's eclipse season or Mercury retrograde." It's just like so disempowering, and I'm just like
Totally.
trying to like re-empower people to realize like, no, like you are the creator of your reality regardless to anything, regardless to your chart, regardless, you create everything. Everything's coming from you pushed out, and your chart just shows you the possibility. And yeah, eclipse seasons are very intense because things are happening very rapidly. Like if it's not an eclipse, if we're not under an eclipse energy, usually how life works is that we have certain things that are meant to come to us during certain times. And
Okay.
you look at the transits for that. We have transit calendars for those things to know exactly when they're going to come in. But during an eclipse season, like, have you ever driven in the ocean, like a
No.
boat?
Oh,
So
yes.
the w-
I
so
was
the
about I was thinking literally like driving into the ocean. I'm like, I think some cars can do that, but no, I haven't been. I haven't used one. You're saying on a boat. Yes, I have.
Yeah, like driven a boat in the ocean. And
Yes.
then have you noticed that like when you turn left, it takes a little bit for the boat to actually turn left?
Okay, yes.
Because it has inertia. So the ocean has inertia when you're driving it. That's similar to regular times. Like you manifest something, and the 3D reality takes a little bit of time
Mhm.
for it to catch up and manifest because there's inertia.
Yep.
But during the eclipse season, it's almost like that veil is being lifted and there's no inertia and everything is coming in. That's why we feel so drained, so tired, because there's nothing like we need that buffer of time in
Mhm.
order to like regain our energy before that thing comes in. So if our nervous system is not ready for it, we have time to prepare for it. But during the eclipses, it's a very karmic period where destiny just takes control. So if you are setting the right intentions, if you have the right mindset and you're not allowing those negative thoughts to like over flood and like take over, there's nothing wrong with manifesting because good things are going to come your way either way. Good things are bound to happen for you. The only problem is that our belief systems, right? If we are believing these videos, then of course you're going to have a horrible time. You
Mhm.
also have to understand that, like, in order for good things to come, some things have to leave. And sometimes that's hard. During the eclipse season, things are going to leave your life. During a full moon eclipse, you're closing off a chapter that began 6 months prior.
Mm.
So we're closing off right now, or we just did. We closed off the chapter from October. So if you think back at October in your own life, like you probably had to shed a lot. You probably had to let go of a lot of things. But a lot of
Yep.
beautiful things that were owed to you probably also came in.
Could it
That's
also be like a lot of internal, like, mindsets and beliefs?
mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I've personally changed honestly, I've changed a lot since October, like, internally, what I'm focusing
Mm-hmm.
on, what I've been letting get to me, and, like, I've been, like, not letting anything get to me anymore since October. Like, there were some things that happened, and I've just changed. Like, I don't know, like, what you say really resonates.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Have you experienced some big shifts since October?
Yeah, oh, my whole life has completely changed since October. But because this eclipse season that happened in October, it was more about letting go. It was more about releasing. So that the one that's about to start in April, that's the one that brings things in. But for you, it was happening, the letting go portion where you had to let go of a lot of like limiting beliefs in the way that you perceive the world around you. It was happening in your ninth house of belief systems. So that's what you were letting go of. Beliefs from childhood around even success, around career, even around like love and friendships, just like around a lot of things that dealt with your entire point of view. So you shedded that. And the moment that you begin to shed that, now things are going to begin to come in externally after the 8th for the next 6 months. So if you feel like you shifted a lot from October to now, that was like the beginning of it. That was just like the preview. That was just like the letting go. Because now, after April 8th, like you're not going to be the same by this time next year. You're going to be a totally different person inside out. Yeah.
Bring it on. Ready.
So manifesting is good.
Okay, so manifesting is
being
good. Don't listen to any of like, the social media posts or whatever that's telling you about not manifesting. We are getting on board with the positive thinking and manifesting during this season. I love that. I think that's super empowering. When you talk about the house where it's occurring, and people can, like your posts on TikTok about this are great. So people can go check that out and get more like immediate answers about their charts and their placements. But just for people who are used to Western, is it like the house system? Is that going to be different? So like the ninth house versus like, the third house, like, does it change like when you go from Western to Vedic or sidereal?
So you would just, it doesn't, okay. So as a Capricorn rising, right? The eclipses are happening in your third and ninth house.
Okay.
So that's going to remain. But your Capricorn rising is Aquarius in sidereal. So the eclipse is still happening in your ninth and third house.
Interesting how that is that the same for everybody?
I'm sorry. You said you're an Aquarius in tropical.
And that's the Western, right?
Yes, Western tropical astrology, you're in Aquarius. So that the eclipses are happening in your ninth and third house.
Yes.
So your belief systems versus like your courage and taking action. And then in sidereal, you're a Capricorn. So the eclipses are still happening in your ninth and third house.
Love it. Very
like
cool.
It's like that for everyone. If your sign remains in the same if it goes back a sign in sidereal, but if it remains in the same sign in both tropical and sidereal, then it won't be in the same houses. Does that make
different
sense?
houses. Yes, that makes sense. Okay. Interesting. So it's important to pull up your own birth chart and look at that. Okay.
It doesn't matter if you don't align, because a lot of people will say, oh, but I don't align with my sidereal. And they usually say that because they don't know it yet. So they don't understand it. So they will say that. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't align with you. That's okay. It's still happening like that regardless. Like, for instance,
Right.
have you like seen the rise in like cowboy aesthetics, cowgirl aesthetics?
1000%. Beyonce, and then everybody else is kind of like following suit. 1000%.
Yeah. Bella Hadid is a literal cowgirl.
I saw that. It looks good on her too.
I love it. Yeah.
I love it.
So that is because of the placements that are happening.
Okay. Do tell.
So Saturn is currently in sidereal Aquarius, which is opposite your sun in Leo in sidereal Vedic astrology, right? So the axis of Leo and Aquarius deal with horses and cowboy, and like, because if you think about Leo, lion, it's the king of the jungle, right? So it's the literal king. And then Aquarius is it represents bringing out, or like in a strange way. So Aquarius wants to represent society. So the cowboy axis, this whole cowgirl thing, is like Leo, the king of the jungle, coming out into society. Okay. And so you will see a lot of people like riding horses, like the horses representing like the biggest form that you can like dominate in this 3D reality now, because we no longer live in the caveman era of like actually having lions and living in the jungle. So a horse is the best way to like get around and like show you that you're dominant, right? So showing it out into society through a horse, through riding a horse, or becoming like a cowgirl, cowboy, etc., in the media or in society as a whole. So that is representative of the literal placements of Saturn. And it's just going to get even more increased after August of 2025 when the North Node goes there into that
Oh,
placement.
cool. Okay,
Hmm.
so get your, cowgirl cowboy stuff because it's gonna just keep coming back, so invest in some new pieces for your closet.
Yeah,
I like
the
it.
hats, invest in them. They're
They're
worth it
so
right now.
cute, and they're so cute too. I love it, but that's probably because of my Leo sun.
Because
So,
you're in that
okay,
axis. And is your birthday like the in August, like the end of August or in September?
September 9th.
Okay, so you're MAGA. So you're even more ruled by like spirituality and all of that stuff. Like you're very into your lineage and like very proud of your lineage, ancestors and things like that. It's a very
I'm very
special placement.
interested I'm interested in things like that and, like,
Mhm.
cultural things and yeah, like
Mhm.
cooking and all that.
Yeah.
Totally, 1000%. Okay, you've also been talking about on your TikTok, I've been seeing a bunch of your posts that I think are so just, dead on, astrology in the wild is what we like to call it. You've been talking about repeating cycles, and you specifically pinpointed Kylie Jenner, and, like,
Mhm.
because you can just see her eras so clearly. Will you talk about that and, like, everything from her eyebrows to
Mhm.
the pink hair and all these repeating cycles and what it means?
Yeah, that is so crazy, right? How she's like
Yes.
literally writing it down in her caption, and people are like tagging me like she's looking at your videos. And I'm like, Kylie, are you looking at my videos, ma'am? Come reach out to me.
Reach out.
But anyways, yeah, the so for her it plays out so well because her sole purpose. Okay, so 2016, we'll start there. 2016, 2017 was the era when the North and South Node, which is the eclipses, the point of karma, they change every 1.5 years. And it's usually those placements are what drive what the collective wants. So
Oh,
the trends of the collective is driven by the North and South Node. Same with
interesting.
Saturn. Saturn influences it a lot too, but mainly the North and South Node. So you
Okay.
will see a lot of people get very popular during certain years, like Hailey Bieber. The
Mhm.
last 2 years, she blew up, right? And then everybody was getting her haircut. That's
Yes.
because the North and South Node were sitting over her ascendant or her moon sign, one of the two. So she was really being amplified by this placement. So when, or if it transits over your highest degree planet in sidereal, that's also a very important time period because the collective is literally gravitating towards your aesthetics, like what they want. It's like you
Ah.
want it, you want more of it. So
Mhm.
they become very popular, actors, whatever, everybody who has those placements.
That's
Um,
cool.
I know it's really, really cool to like understand these trends. And then 2014, I mean, 2016, 2017 was the last time the North and South Node were in sidereal Leo Aquarius,
Okay.
which would be tropical Virgo Pisces, your literal sun sign. So that era is coming back now because Saturn is influencing it. So it's
Okay.
bringing stability to whatever we did then. So you're going to see a lot of the celebrities,
Oh.
whatever they started then, um, they will bring it back, but in a more stable, matured manner. Like she's bringing back her King Kylie era, but with a more mature demeanor to it, with having a lot more knowledge and not just doing it out of having no thought about it because that's her sole purpose is actually Venus and Leo. So she
Okay.
has a lot of those Leo qualities, those like she gravitates like people really wanted her in that era. They wanted what she had to offer, and that's
Mhm.
why she became so popular. And I think that's the time frame when she started. Um, Kylie, right? Kylie
Yep, like the
Cosmetics.
lip kit, yes. She was,
Yeah.
like, blowing up, like, 2016, 2017, her King Kylie era, she was
Hmm.
really, like, out there on social media, putting her stuff out there. She did the pink hair, which you posted about, and then she wore, like, I think a pink wig, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, confirmation, I told you guys." Like, she's
Yeah.
doing it, and her eyebrows, like, she just randomly posted
Yeah,
about being
because
like, "I'm going
she
back
knew
to that
people would
aesthetic."
love it. Yeah, she knew people would like eat it up because people want that right now. They want
Mhm.
that 2016, 2017 cycle. Same thing with the horses. Like back then, everybody had those like jackets that had like the flares on them. Do you
Yes.
remember them?
Yes, the
Yeah.
fringe, that was so
The
yes,
fringe. Yes. That's
and,
coming
like, they were
back.
making expensive ones, everyone was, like, getting them from this place in Austin, and they were, like, crystal I remember some were, like, $1,000, like, people were just
Yeah.
splurging on these fringe jackets, yes.
So
Oh my
all of that
God,
is
I
coming
forgot.
back. So
Okay.
it's almost like coming back. Right now it's coming back in a more stable way. After August of 2025, it's
Okay.
really going to come back, but in a more like erratic, like big, uh, just like amplified way, because now the north node, the eclipses will take place there in that axis. So it's going to come back, but in a reverse manner. Kind
Mhm.
of like, I don't know if you've heard me talk about 2014, 2015 also coming back.
I did, but will you refresh my memory? And
Yes.
yeah, because this is honestly, this is fascinating, like the
So
cycles, the way it works. Oh my God.
2014, 2015 is coming back now, but in a reverse manner, like in an opposite way. Like the roles have been reversed. That's how it's going to be for 2016, 2017 after August of 2025. But right
Oh,
now, it's not like that for the 2016, 2017 cycles. Right now, for the 2017, 2016 cycles, it's more like bringing stability to it and bringing it back in a better way. So the 2014, 2015 cycles, that's where the North Node and South Node, where the eclipses are happening now. They were happening in that same axis of tropical Aries, Libra, sidereal, Virgo, Pisces.
okay.
But the North Node, which is the area of life that we want more of, was sitting in the logical, practical Virgo back then. So
Mhm.
everybody was more about like, you have to be practical, you have to be logical. You can't be, that was when I was getting my license, I decided to go to finish off and become a licensed therapist. That's very practical, it's very logical.
Yeah.
But now that era is coming back, it's already back, but in a reverse manner. We're being asked to be less logical, more delulu. That's why the rights of spirituality, right?
Love it.
Pisces, the rights of spirituality, everybody being delulu, even like that delulu is a salulu uh just trending thing,
I
which
love
is
it.
very Pisces. So that era is coming back in a reverse manner. And whoever
Okay.
remains logical and practical will stay behind because that will consume them
Mhm.
until they let that shit go and they just become delulu.
Hey, what's better than that? Like, send me to Delulu land right now. I'm good.
hmm So
I
that's
like that.
it. Yeah, I
So
know.
currently, we're in a period of time where, so you were saying the 2014, 2015 cycle is reversed. So it's same energy, but
hmm
like different, more Delulu than last time.
hmm
And then we're
hmm
also at the same time, there's a 2016, 2017 trend cycle that's repeating at this time right now. And it's the same
Yes.
thing, but it's just adding more stability to that energy. And that's going to keep growing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You summed it up perfectly.
Okay. Well, I'm like, I just think this is so interesting how it occurs like that. So, anybody who's listening who thinks back to 2016, 2017, if they think about like what they were doing, do you think that this would be a good time for them to like maybe revisit, lean back into that stuff because it was
hmm
something that was like good for them or on a spiritual level? They were like wanting to do this one thing, even if maybe they gave up and set it down?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. And now doing it much more in a much more stable way. Like I
Okay.
see a lot of people, I get a lot of clients who, I don't know, in 2016, 2017, we're in a relationship and they're asking me, am I going to get into a relationship now? I've been single for this amount of years since that time frame. Of course you're going to get into a relationship, but they're like, they'll say something like, oh, but that time frame was horrible in relationships. I was dating a narcissist. But
Mhm.
because this time around, you learn those lessons and it's coming back, but in a much more stable manner where now you have boundaries. You're going to get into a relationship, but you're going to get into a relationship that's solid, that has boundaries, that's not going to be narcissistic because you've learned the lessons that you learned back then. But the relationship will happen. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So we're getting like a chance to almost have a little redo and with the
In a more
knowledge and
stable
wisdom
way.
you've gained.
hmm
I love that.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
and when did that period start, do you think?
Yeah, it started January of 2023. So, and
Okay.
at that point of January of 2023, everybody kind of like felt a shock. Like,
Yeah.
because when Saturn enters the sign, it destroys it before it rebuilds it because it
Ooh.
shows you everything that needs to be restructured in that area of life and
Mhm.
everything you've been doing wrong up until now. And it'll make it so obvious that you have no other option than to like either succumb to it and like, I don't know, be homeless, or completely shift it
Mhm.
and regrow yourself and rebuild yourself in a much more stable manner. And if you choose that path, then you get rewarded for it. And because Saturn is in such a good placement right now of manifestations, you're going to see a lot of people become extremely wealthy. A lot of people who before didn't get that opportunity become like millionaires, billionaires. You're going to see a lot of new technology. You're going to see a lot of like different types of like things that weren't accepted before now become acceptable in society. So it's like if you were in a relationship back then and you were dating a narcissist, don't worry. You're not going to date the narcissist, but you are going to get into a relationship like you wanted to. If you don't want the relationship, you won't get into one. It's ultimately up to you and whatever you want out of the transit. If you want to get married, if you got a divorce back then, or if you got married, you could get remarried now. There's an opportunity for it. So don't close yourself off and think that because the cycle is coming back, it's going to repeat itself in the same way it did back then. No, it's not at all. You get to choose now something more stable for yourself. But it did start off really, really intense in January of 2023. I will tell you that.
Yeah, right. If we all think back, we're like, "Oh, yeah, what was happening there?" And then that's gonna continue with that cycle until August of 2025, you said, right? So people are gonna be able to do this until about then when things will shift again?
So, because I'm sorry, that's my dog. I have to
Okay.
get like the little water.
She had her water.
He's a puppy and still in the training phase.
Don't you worry,
But
girl.
so Saturn is the planet that's transiting that 2016-2017 cycle.
Okay.
Saturn is all about stability and bringing structure to things. He's going to remain there. So in 2020, January 2023, you should have like restructured a lot of things in your life up until now. We have about, I think like a little bit less than a year left in this transit of Saturn. It's a 2.5-year transit. So if it started in January of 2023, I don't know. I believe about 2025 around August, September around there.
We'll go
I'm
with
not
it.
good with math,
I'm
but
not with
yeah,
math either.
something. Yeah, in my readings, I tell you, I can't tell right
Right.
now.
I'm
But
the same way. I'm
anyways,
like, if I sit down and write it or well, okay, we'll do it. We'll do the mental math on our own time. But yes, okay, we're listening.
yeah. So it's around that time period,
Okay.
or yeah, around that time period. So it's not that that energy is going to end. The thing is that now the North Node is going to enter that area. And so the Virgos, tropical, and Pisces are going to continue going through major life changes even after Saturn leaves that area. And same thing with Aries, Libra, tropical, sidereal, sidereal, Virgo, Pisces, because the North Node will enter the axis of Virgo, Pisces, tropical, which is Leo, Aquarius, sidereal. And it's going to, instead of bringing stability to it, it's just going to bring change because the North Node brings change. And whatever Saturn couldn't accomplish in its stable energy, the North Node will amplify and bring the manifestation to you.
Wow.
So,
Okay. I like
yeah.
it.
So that's kind of like what the Aries Libras tropical are going through now. That they're like
Oh.
feeling a lot of amplifications. They're feeling a lot of change. They're not feeling too happy with themselves because they want to change, because they're being asked to change. And then when Saturn enters that area and it leaves where it's at right now, which it will do in August, September of 2025, then they will find the stability. They will find the grounding. And
Okay.
then the other sign will go through the major changes.
Okay, interesting. So it's all about
Mm-hmm.
timing. It's all about the
Timing,
cycle. Like if you're not happy right now, just you know that this time will pass, but also pay attention to what's making you unhappy. Figure
change
out how
it.
you can change it. Yeah, nothing is
Mm-hmm.
forever. I like that. It is very empowering because it's like wherever you're feeling dissatisfied, it's almost like a cue for you spiritually to like tune into it and like have hope that this just means you have an opportunity to change it. Switching gears, you also did a post that I thought was really interesting about fitness and like your chart. And you were talking about your personal fitness routine because you just have like the fittest, most amazing physique. Girl, you are working
Oh
it.
my gosh. Thank
You
you.
do, you do. So will you tell us about that? Because I mean, summer's coming up, we all want to look our
Mm-hmm.
best. So what do you do and how does it coincide with like your birth chart placements?
Yeah, like your rising sign is so important when it comes to like, and also like your placements, the placement of Saturn, your sixth house placements are very, very important when it
Okay.
comes
I'm
to like
like
your
looking.
routines and when it comes to like your aesthetics. But your rising sign is what dominates, and your moon sign, your aesthetics, what you look like and how you react and how you take action. So according to Vedic astrology, like going back to the nakshatras, and this sounds like really odd to somebody who doesn't know about Vedic astrology, so just stick with me. It's the lunar mansions where all the zodiac signs reside. There's 27 of them. And there's two and a half zodiac signs per lunar mansion per nakshatra. So
Okay.
depending on which one you land in, that determines even further like what's your dominance. So
Okay.
for you, you are a based on your moon, you're very Saturn dominant because Anuradha, your moon sign, is based on Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my moon sign is in Mirashira, which is a Mars ruled placement. So
Ooh.
Mars, it's like the athlete, the fighter, the action and all of
Yep.
that. So people who are Mars dominant, they tend to gain muscle very easily, or they tend to gain, and they lose it very slowly, especially after your Saturn return, because that's when you kind of like mature.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't happened yet, and because I'm getting like comments saying, "Oh, I have a Mars nakshatra, and I don't look like that." That's normal. Maybe another placement is taking dominating over your chart. But there's this astrologer on YouTube who I love, and she does a lot of research on this. Her name is Claire Nocti. So if
Okay.
you want to know more about the nakshatras, look her up. She's really, really good. But
Cool.
especially like the Mars ruled placements, they tend to be very good with like the aesthetics as it pertains to gaining muscle and things like that. Now, the Venus ones are more art related. They love art. They like to indulge in the good life. They tend to attract the good life very,
Mm-hmm.
very easily to them. They tend to, because like they have that, like, how they're always saying how Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're all part of the Illuminati,
Yes.
and they keep these secrets that nobody else knows about.
Yes.
Well, this is because they're Venus ruled. They're both Venus ruled. Like Jay Z is Purva Falguni Nakshatra rising Leo, and that's a Venus ruled nakshatra, and so is Beyonce. So Venus ruled placements are known to not disclose a lot of things. They keep it to themselves because they know um, how to manifest things into their life easily. And so people who don't have Venus ruled placements, they will say things like, "Oh, they got it because they're part of the Illuminati. They know the secrets." In essence, in mythology, Venus is Shukra, which is the 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 teacher to the demons, to the
Whoa.
underworld, to the demons. And so that's why they relate Venus people to having these secrets that nobody else can access, and that they're part of the Illuminati. For
So it's just
you,
perception? You don't think they're a part of the Illuminati, or what are your
no,
thoughts?
I
No,
don't think
it's just a
so. No.
perception. It's okay,
Yeah.
interesting that they just give that off so people jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, for
Interesting.
or like even like when they are thinking about like, I don't know, those people who are preppers for,
Yes, like doomsday preppers?
yeah, yeah,
You're
like
like,
they
"That would
think that
be
the world.
you." Okay.
No.
No, it's not.
Like the doomsday preppers, they probably have a ruling planet that's making them do that, where they think
Mhm.
that yes, there is a Illuminati, or they'll fall into those things. But anyways, I don't think it's real. And then for you, you're very Saturn ruled. I don't
Mhm.
know the nakshatra of your ascendant. Do you know if it's Shravana or Dhanishta?
Uttara
Or Uttara Ashada?
Uttara
So that
Ashada.
one is a special one because it's ruled by the sun. So you
Okay.
will look beautiful and young into old age. Very like
Trying.
sun.
Bo
Yes,
thanks to
you will.
Botox.
Of course, yeah, because you'll find the sun ruled, the sun dominant people. They're the types that will find, that lady that's like, she's very well known for looking much younger than her age, and I think her name is like Chrissy something.
Okay. I don't,
I
but
don't know if you know.
I'll look into
Yeah,
it.
look her up because
I
she's
will.
gorgeous. She's a sun ruled woman, and because it's like, if you think about the sun, just wants to give vitality, but it doesn't, like, if you get too close to it, it burns you, but it gives you sustenance and it just lights up everything and it gives life to everything. So when you're sun ruled, you will always be very respected by others. Even when people don't really agree with you, they will always respect your opinions, what you have to say. And at the same time, being sun ruled makes you somebody who will always find ways on keeping your vitality intact, because you give it out so much and you don't really ask for much in return. You just want to give, 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 that you will
Yeah.
always remain with your vitality intact and with like a surplus of it. So that you're the type that will probably take a lot of vitamins into old age and just like remain very holistic and young looking.
Well, I love that. Okay, amazing. I definitely try
Hmm.
to stay on top of it. I'm not somebody who's like, "Oh, well, I'm getting older. I'm just gonna let it be what it is." I'm not
Mm-mm.
like that at all. I'm the
No.
opposite. I'm like, I just wanna look
Hmm.
and feel as good as I can for as long as I can. So, totally. That's crazy. And then
Yeah.
Saturn ruled people as far as, like, working out and stuff. Does that mean that, like, for me, I have to be really disciplined or, like, something like that?
Yeah, like you probably like structure, right?
I really
Because you
have to
didn't have a
have it.
lot of it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Growing up, like, you didn't have a lot of it, so you really wanted it.
Mhm. I struggle with it, but
Mhm.
I like if I wanna reach my goals, like, whether it be physical or work related, I find that the more organized I am, the easier it is for me to reach any type of goal I
Mhm.
have. I cannot fall off the wagon and just, like, works out. That's not my life.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
like, that's how Saturn ruled people are. They need structure to feel good. They're not the types to, like, talk a lot or say a lot. They're the types to kind of like give you what you need to, you say what you need to say and you mean it. And you
Mhm.
know how to like organize things, keep the structures and things like that. And through structures and creating systems, you know how to do things like little nitty gritty things that most people would just give up on. And
Mhm.
because of that, your perseverance and kind of like never giving up, and it doesn't really bother you much because you kind of like those kinds of work and hard work and working really hard and things like that, you
I
end
do.
up getting so rewarded over time by Saturn.
Wow, I love it. That is really cool. I'm really connecting to this style a
Yay.
lot, and this is fascinating. Like, this is definitely one of those things that it seems very in depth and complicated, but
Hmm.
I think it's really worth like learning and spending time with. So this is really cool. I'm loving this. Thank you for
Yay.
telling me about that. That's really everything you've said has been very dead on, very insightful, just
Oh
from
my
like the
gosh.
little time
Yay.
we've spent together. And then I would love to talk a little bit about numerology and then end with some pop culture questions just about like celebs and stuff. So
Hmm.
you also post about numerology. Will you talk a little bit about like your personal year? Because you've been doing vision boards that I think are
Hmm.
so amazing. I love numerology. So will you share some of that with us and like where you're at right now in your personal year?
Yes, the numerology personal year. So you have a life path number, right? Which is you add up your entire birthday, and then you get your life path number. But every year, uh, at the mark of the new year's, some people say that it's when your next birthday comes,
Yeah.
but according to Vedic, it's when the clock hits midnight and it's the new year, so
That's
that's
the
when
one
it
I use
changes.
too. That feels right
Yeah.
to me also. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll feel it like a few weeks before the new year too, that things are like shifting, or that you're wanting some kind of new energy to come in. And that's what I think is the most accurate, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
So you have your baseline, which is your life path number, and then every year, depending on the number that of the year that we're running, like we're in an 8 year because 2024 adds up to eight. So
Mhm.
that means eight. So you would add up your birthday date, like
Mhm.
for me, I was born first on the first. So
Mhm.
1 plus 8, and then your month plus
Mhm.
6. So then that's your life path. That's your personal year number for the year of
Mhm.
2024. And that's the one you're running. So it goes up to 9. It ends in 9 and then it starts all over again.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm currently in a 6 year. And
Oh,
which year are
nice.
you on?
8.
You're in an eight in
Mhm.
an 8 year, during an 8 year. That's beautiful. I love that. And what's your life path number?
I believe my life path number, oof. Everything for me is like 9 or 6.
6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
I
6.
think yeah, I think you're right. I know my destiny number is 6. I'm
Life path
99% sure.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
anyways, like it goes up to 9 and then you start all over again. So, when
Mhm,
you're going through a 1 year, you're basically like rebuilding or
mhm.
wanting something different, going through a lot of changes so that you can like step into a new destiny that's going to be run all the way for 9 years.
I think it feels
Num
exciting. I like a 1. Do
You
you?
like the 1 year? Well,
Yeah.
that's my life path. So I feel like
Okay.
I really
Love it.
resonate with it. It's a little
Yeah.
bit lonely though, because it's almost like you
Yes.
have to do things on your own.
Mhm. That's true.
Um,
That's true. It's like there's, like, a silver lining to all of these, but, like, I feel like that's part of, understanding the personal year that makes it so, like, worth knowing because you
mhm.
can, like, lean in to, like, the good part because, yeah,
Yes,
there is a part of all of them that can be a
all
little
of
bit
them.
sad or draining, just like everything, there's good and bad, you know?
There's polarity, yeah, and that's what
Totally
makes it
polarity.
beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then number 2 is more family driven, like emotional and things like that. 3 is a lot of changes
Okay.
happening at once, but also a lot of expansion because
Yeah.
it's Jupiter ruled. 4 is stability, and 4 is ruled by the North Node, so there can also be a lot of changes that happen. So those are
Mhm.
the years that you can like maybe big changes happen in your life, like marriage, career growth, and things like that. Then 5 is mostly actually 5. I feel like 5 is a year that has the most changes. The most
So
because it's like
much.
you're being yeah, like you're being asked like let go of anything toxic that hasn't worked for you up until now, and then it gives you the ability to like let go of that toxic shit and then move forward. But it can feel really intense.
So last year, I did Taylor Swift's numerology on the podcast. Last year, Taylor Swift, which was like her biggest year in like how long, where she let go of Joe Alwyn, got into a new relationship, Eras
Mhm.
Tour, Time Magazine, Person of the Year. That was a 5 year for her.
Oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
I believe it.
wild.
Wow.
Isn't it so
That's
cool?
crazy.
I always will do like a celebrity's like personal year when something cool happens because I'm like, I wonder what year they're in. And it's every time it always is just
Oh my
confirmation.
gosh. So
So
now she's in
cool.
a 6th year.
Now she's in a 6th year.
Love. Oh my
Love,
gosh.
maybe marriage, could be motherhood, like, right? That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I think this is the one. Like, and with
I
yeah.
think so too.
How
I
cute.
think so too.
Mhm.
And then 7 is like letting go, right? A lot of
That
like
was me
letting
last
go.
year. Woo.
Mhm. Like
Like
did you feel much more spiritual and like you didn't really feel like
mhm.
being so materialistic coming from a 6th year?
Yes. I felt
Mhm.
it was a huge change from a 6 to a 7 year, like, in every way. And I
Mhm.
felt like, my soul number is 7. So it was like it wasn't necessarily uncomfortable, but it was more me being the the real me, if that makes sense, and less
Oh.
about like I wasn't very social last year, which is unlike me. Usually I
Mhm.
love to do things and be around friends and go to different things, but I was really choosy. I didn't have as much energy for that type of thing. I was reading, working a lot on the podcast, learning things behind the scenes, um, and then I got into, like, thinking about my purpose, and I came out of it the other side, though, feeling more me than I have in years, like,
Mm. I
more
love that.
secure in myself and, like, confident. So, there was definitely a lot of good that came from it, but at first, it was like, "Oof." I was like, "This is depressing," you know? But then I
Like a lot of
embraced it.
letting go.
Mhm, a
You
lot
had
of
to go
letting
through
go, a
of
lot.
like an old you, an old because
Yes.
the 7 years are ruled by the South Node K2. So it's like
Oh.
all about spirituality, letting go, releasing, getting more in tune with your authentic self, like you said.
Mhm. I lost some friendships
Mhm.
that had been important to me, but then
Mm.
I realized not lost the friend, but just realized, like, "Oh, we're not really as aligned as I thought," or, just yeah, things
Mhm.
that I didn't expect happened. Yeah,
Oh wow.
but it made me
That's
stronger.
interesting.
Mhm.
Right. And now you're ready to reap the rewards of all that stuff because you're in an 8 year. I actually love 8 years. Like
I
they're
do
very
too.
abundance driven. Yeah.
I do too. I'm in a 2 month right now in an 8 year, and it's so crazy because I didn't even plan it like this, but my I do some animal rescue stuff, which is something I just started in December. That's part of me discovering the real me, and,
Mhm.
this month has been all about the dogs and, like, rehabbing this one dog who's in here right now being precious,
Oh,
and it's been all about others. So the 2 energy, I'm like, that just resonates as well, that even though it's an 8 year,
wow.
I've just been all about others, even to the point where I took 2 weeks off from TV and the podcast to like pour into rehabbing this dog. So it
Wow.
always lines up. It's crazy.
Yeah, because you know what? The 8 years is aligned with Saturn, and
Mm,
Saturn rules over the elderly, the people who are disabled,
mm,
animals who are disabled, or like who need home, or things like that.
yep.
They need rescuing
Yes.
others, poverty. So that's why in 8 years you see a lot of people becoming millionaires, especially those people who were doing Saturn's work.
Oh,
uh,
wow.
yeah, like, so the fact that you felt called towards doing Saturn's work. And then dogs is ruled by the South Node. And then your 7 year is when you realized I need to strengthen my Saturn and my South Node by rehabbing dogs, which will literally not only fulfill you, spiritually, but it's going to bring so much change into your life that
Yes.
in every way possible. Yeah.
It's everything, like, changes with, like, the structure of, like, where you spend your time, things I cared about
Mm-hmm.
before I don't care about anymore, like, for the better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then a 9-year, I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear your take on a 9-year, 'cause I've always really liked 9 years, but maybe 'cause I was born on
Mhm.
the ninth. I don't know. What
Oh, I like 9 years too, but I can see why you feel that way. Why people might not like it, because it's a
Mhm.
lot of like changes in terms of like letting go. It's the end. The end.
Yeah.
Whatever you didn't accomplish, whatever you set out to accomplish during your 1 year, and then you look back when you're in your nine. If you didn't accomplish, it has to go. Like you either accomplish it in your nine or you completely let it go. So you see a lot of changes of like moving moves, um, like my former intern, who's now my employee, Hannah, she completely moved from her little small town in Alabama to Miami on a whim in her ninth
Wow,
year. So it's like
that's
letting
cool.
go, like changing everything, uplifting, like learning a lot about
Mhm.
yourself and a lot about like the world around you in general. Having like a good mentor on a 9 year will do you wonders.
Oh, interesting. I love
Mm-hmm.
that 'cause, like, your philosophy or wisdom, people say it's a wish
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment time, but it can also be a time to let go.
Fortune.
For
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I feel like 9 is complicated. Like, there are a lot of
Mhm.
different energies happening at once, kind of.
Yeah, that's how I feel about, also I feel the same way about the 3, which is like in
Mm.
astrology, they're the 2 opposing houses,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
9 and 3. I
Okay,
feel
makes
like
sense.
that too about the 3 year, and oddly enough about the 5 year, because for me the 5 year
Mhm.
was like insane, insanity. I haven't
Totally.
changed so much like
Yeah,
I did.
it's almost like you get whiplash in a 5-year. Like, I'm glad Taylor
Mhm.
Swift loved it, but, like, for me, like, there were great things that happened, but then also just, like, my anxiety was through the roof. I felt like it was
Mhm.
just too much. I couldn't even keep up.
Literally same
Uh-huh.
for me, yeah.
And then okay, so I love that, that's so interesting, and you have some really cool, like, mood boards on TikTok about the years, and so I love that, I thought that was really cool. And then when it comes to pop culture, just I thought it'd be fun to end on a pop culture note, you
Mhm.
posted about P. Diddy and just, like, without the eclipse. Oh my gosh, please share your thoughts on that whole crazy situation and astrology.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy because it just goes to show you how karma comes back around no matter
Yep.
what. It will always catch up to you.
Mhm.
Because if you, like I was talking about the cycles of 2016, 2017, and also 2004 through 2006, because that was the last time this axis was literally activated, not in reverse, but activated. And that was like when him and Cassie, I believe, got together.
Okay.
And during the first eclipse that happened in October, that's when she came out, right? And
Yes.
so everything manifests in 6 month cycles. So during the new moon, you set the intention, and in 6 months, that intention has been closed, is completed during the full
Oh,
moon. So during the new moon that happened over his literal sun sign, which is where the eclipses are happening, his ego. And I believe it's also his north and south node or something like that. Very important placements for him.
okay.
So, anyways, the point is that during the new moon that happened with the eclipses in October, she came out. It was like on the eclipse day or
Mhm.
the day before or the day after. I remember doing a video on it where it was like you can't make this stuff up. And then she came out, he settled, blah blah blah. It kind of went a little bit silent for some
It
months,
did.
right?
It did.
Behind the scenes, what we didn't see was that things were moving. They were moving.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
had to wait until the literal week of the eclipse for everything to just come out, because during the eclipse is a culmination. So that chapter is closed. Now he's beginning a new chapter after the 8th, but this new chapter is a whole different chapter, something that he's never experienced before. And this new chapter is in jail, you
Right.
know?
Hope you like orange, yeah.
Yeah, like this is, that's it. Like,
Like
remember
a
how I
new
talked
chapter.
about earlier? Like about releasing the first
Mhm.
half from October to now, we've been releasing,
Okay, yes.
letting go, letting go, letting go of everything that wasn't working for us in those houses, letting go internally, externally, blah, blah, blah. Also receiving some things that were owed to us from like 2014, 2015.
Mm.
Um, but now with this next eclipse on April 8th, and the energy is already present, now we're beginning a new chapter for 6 months where we're going to receive something new, brand new things coming into us. Because we already did the releasing, he's already put in jail. He's locked up. So now
Oh,
he's getting
wow.
now he's starting a brand new chapter, and we all are also collectively.
So depending on maybe like your particular karma or like whatever you've been putting out there, like maybe come, April 8th, I think that's the solar eclipse, you're either going to like maybe receive something uh good, or you could receive maybe just your karma. Like it could even be a new
Hmm.
chapter that maybe isn't so pleasant. Is that like what you mean?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, for
Yeah.
him it was like that because it's all based on what you did in the 10 years prior,
Mhm.
which was 2014, 2015, when the roles were reversed. What did you do
Ah,
then? That's what's coming back now in a different manner. So back then he was abused, doing his
mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Now it's coming back in a reverse manner, meaning that he's caught and he's in jail.
That is so interesting, and the timing of it is absolutely wild.
Like, you couldn't make this up. It's
You
so
couldn't.
crazy.
It's really crazy. Are there any other things that you have noticed that have happened like that, or any, like, celebrity birth charts, or just anything that's, like, struck you just over the years?
Oh, so much, like,
Mm.
everything. It's just, like, when I do a lot of research, and when you go back, everything always aligns very well because a lot of celebrities were born during an eclipse or have some kind of eclipse in their
Really?
chart. Yeah, because it's,
Wow.
like, eclipses are very important in, like, when people like Taylor Swift, she has Rahu, the North Node, with, Venus. So everybody's like enticed and loves her music and like can't
Ah,
really see her clearly. Whatever work of art Venus she puts out, the collective just gravitates towards it and eats it up. They love it
totally.
because of that. So they all have, not all of them, but a lot of them will have some kind of like eclipse in their chart.
Mhm.
And some people will perceive it as negative, but it's really not. It's your karma, it's your destiny in this lifetime, where you're
Wow.
going towards or where you're releasing. So when you look at the events that have happened throughout history, they always land during these periods of eclipses. Right now, we're going to
Wow.
see a lot of like planes, things with planes. Do you remember in
The
2014,
Boeing
2015?
stuff.
Yeah, like 2014, 2015, we had like the whole, what was it, ISIS? And I don't want to get too dark with
Right,
it, but
right.
now it's like the same thing, but with a
Okay.
different name.
Okay. Yeah. So even, like, geopolitical events, like, things on a large
Everything
scale. Wow,
lines
so
up.
it's just
Yeah.
like we're continuing the story. Like, maybe even if things were
Hmm.
quiet, like with P. Diddy, there was a period where things were happening behind the scenes. It's like during eclipses, we kind of see what's been hidden or
Comes
what's been
out.
going on underneath the surface.
Hmm.
Oh, that is so interesting. Things come into the light.
It just manifests really quickly because there's no like that inertia
Mm, okay.
to like stop it, to like delay it. There's no delaying factor anymore
Mhm.
during the eclipse, those 2 weeks of the eclipse. But it doesn't mean that after the 2 weeks of the eclipse, things are not going to, show up for you. They will. It's just going to be a progression, not
Okay.
as abrupt or like as fast.
Mhm. So interesting, so interesting. Are there any other
Hmm.
trends or anything that you, like, predict as far as, like, fashion trends or pop culture trends? You've also talked about TikTok and how people have been rumored, that they're banning it and you don't think that's true. Like, what are some trending things that you think? will be kind of happening in like the pop culture landscape or,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, I think that a lot of like mermaid things are going to come out.
Ooh,
A lot of,
fun.
yeah, people like not being able to keep up with time, like losing track of time, understanding the illusion of time. People who
Oh,
are not into like spirituality now becoming much more in tune with it. Like
cool.
a boom of like even kids, a boom of like children suddenly coming in, that are coming in with a lot of spiritual past life knowledge.
Cool.
Yeah. Like any child that's born right now, they're blessed. Have children right now. Right now. It's a really good time to have them.
Oh, that's cool. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, amazing.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Wow, you have
Yay.
so much interesting things to share. I feel like I could talk to you forever. I really appreciate your time. I know you were so busy. And if people want to get in touch with you, they can go to Spiritual Bossy on Instagram and TikTok, and people can get a birth chart reading from you. They can get astrology, transit, and manifestation calendars. You have Manifesting with the Moon workbooks, workshops, retreats, courses, all of that good
Yes.
stuff can be found at CamilaRegina.com. Um, just thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy with how you run this whole thing. You're so good at it. So thank you so much for having me. I feel honored.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. All right, Camila, you
Yay.
take care and I will
Bye.
be keeping up with you. I'm on your page all the time, so
Oh my
I'll be
gosh,
seeing you.
contact me for a reading because I am so like
I
interested in your chart. Please
Oh my god,
DM
I
me.
will. I will DM you. Oh my god, so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, girl, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of In the Cards and Stars. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did, and I would love to keep hanging out with you guys. So be sure to head over to the Brit Madrid YouTube channel for our live streams and to get your own tarot cards read. We have a lot of fun over there. And of course, subscribe and turn on those notifications so that you guys don't miss any of the new podcast episodes. I would also love it if you left a review, but I'll see you guys next week for another all new podcast episode. You guys are the best. Sending big hugs.
Yay Networks.